the whole point of the song is like there's nothing in saying this is going to change anything. But it's almost like I'm speaking directly to her, not in a shameful way, but in a kind of a, man, what the fuck didn't we do?
You're alone again. I shouldn't be thinking of you, thinking of me. I know.
Hello, people. This is Mike, and this is the dailyBred weekly podcast, which is potentially called the Weekly Bread. This is about like the third or fourth episode where I've pondered this, so I apologize if you have to keep hearing me say this, but I just did, so fuck it. Today, I'm going to talk about a song that I wrote, and I'll go into that in a second, but real quick, since I guess people do this, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can go do that. You can give it some stars, and you can share it with someone who might enjoy some gibberish. You can also share the Instagram account with people, and I'm currently working on the new book, the couples book, and I have this new email list that I started. It is checklist. Let me say blah 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 on the website. If you go to yourdailybred, BRED.com / /checklist, you can sign up there for the emails. So hopefully you do that. Okay, so today I was going to talk about, there was a time that, these are two completely conflicting topics, by the way, but I was going to talk about this time that I hung out with a couple that had an open relationship and tell that whole story about what went down. But I will leave that for another time. And this is so contrast. But today I'm going to talk about one of my songs. It's called No Rewind. And this is a song that I wrote when I was in my band Arcade Academy. And now, kind of just a timeline. When I was 17 to 18, I was in a punk band called Congress a Cow. And then we transitioned to Lane Meyer. And Lane Meyer is the band that I toured in. And I've talked about that many times. You can actually follow the Instagrams, Lane Meyer Band, if you want to check that out. You can see what I looked like when I was 18 to 21. And we toured with bands like Saturday Supercade, Humble Beginnings, River City High, Whippersnapper, and Lawrence Arms, this band, the Wonder Years, not the current Wonder Years, the older version of the Wonder Years. And Lounge. These are all like obscure punk band names that you might know about. Then we broke up, and then I moved to LA, and I was out there waiting tables. And while I was there, I decided I wanted back to school. Actually, no, I decided I wanted to go back to school when I moved to San Diego. So I was living in LA for 2 years, which is actually going to connect with this story I'm about to talk about. And I moved to San Diego, and I started this band, Arcade Academy. And when I moved back to Jersey to go to school for graphic design, I created my next band, which is Arcade Academy. And that's where I have a bunch of songs that are on Bandcamp. If you actually go to arcadeacademyrock.bandcamp.com, you can see a bunch of songs that we recorded. And it started off as this band that I started in San Diego. We practiced a lot. It was a lot of fun. We got pretty good, and we never really had like a fan base or anything. We played like 5 shows, I think. And so when I came back to Jersey, we started playing, but I didn't really want to do the touring thing, and I was just really wanted to do it for fun. But I really liked the songs that I was recording, because it was kind of I took the style that I had with Lane Meyer and I brought it over and just kind of advanced on it on my own. So it's like the songs that I had written in our last album, it kind of took that style and expanded on it. And I tried to do some slower stuff, because all my other stuff, I guess, no, the other stuff was like slow poppy, but not like really like slow, which is going to be talking about this song. But so I recorded 3 songs on my own with my old guitar player, Casey Lee Morgan, who actually played drums in his studio. And then when I started the band up again in Jersey after recording these songs, we wrote some new songs, and there was these 2 songs that I wrote. One of them was called, what was it fucking called? It's like right in front of me. Let me go to the album. One of them was called Welcome to the Homestretch, which is about my a girlfriend, which I've talked about many times, and I'll talk about that eventually one time. But the other song was called No Rewind, which is I'm going to talk about today, and this is why it's such a contrast from the original topic I was going to talk about. So this song is about a roommate of mine, and I was living in LA. I had just moved out there in 2001, September 1st, 2001, about 10 days before 9/11. And we moved into this apartment complex in Canoga Park called Chase, or it was on Chase Street. It's on the, if you're ever out in California and you go down Chase Street, it just kind of does like an L, and I forget where it connects with, but it's not Topanga. I totally forget. But we lived there, and it was an awesome time. It was a 4-bedroom apartment, and there was 4 guys, and my buddy Chris had moved out there. So Chris was in Lanemeyer. He quit the band. He moved to LA. We kept touring. And when we broke up, I was talking to him. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, you should come to LA. So I moved to LA, and it was me and Chris, and he had these 2 friends, this guy named Courtney and his buddy Dave. So the 4 of us, 4 guys, got an apartment, 4-bedroom apartment in it was pretty much, I didn't realize this later on, but it was a pretty beat up area. But when we were there, it was fine. I loved it. And it was just a party house. And about a year into living there, maybe not even the full year, Chris decided that he wanted to move back to New Jersey. And we had made a friend, her name was Christina, and I forget how we met her. I think it was through a group of friends that we had known. And she was looking for a place to live, so she ended up moving into Chris's room. And Chris moved to Jersey. And she was a hairstylist. She was going to like the Paul Mitchell School for hair. I don't know what the technical term is for doing hairstylists. So she was doing that, and we became like good friends. And she was, like I said, she was friends with our group of friends. So she was young. I think she was like 19 or 20, and we were all 22, I think, at the time. And so she moved in, and again, it was the party house. We always partied, and like, it was just like a bunch of group of friends always hanging out. So when that apartment was done, we ended up splitting, and I ended up moving to Topanga, or I'm sorry, I moved to Tarzana, and I lived with 2 coworkers of mine. We're at this BJ's Brewery right in Woodland Hills. So I moved in with Ginger and Jason. It was great, really nice apartment. And Christina went on to, I forget where she stayed in the Valley, and we stayed friends. And we like, when we were out in town, we would always like drink and like sometimes see each other out, or like our group of friends would like collide, and well, it's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. And what happened was she was going to school, and I forget when I found out about this, but Chris had known her too before she moved in, and they became really good friends. And it turned out that she ended up committing suicide when I was I think I was living in San Diego. I heard about this, and I don't remember why. I know her family, I think they were Jehovah's Witnesses or something like that. Very religious. Super sweet girl. Like, she never talked about being depressed, like, ever. Was never talked about being depressed. There was never any signs that she was depressed. When I heard about this, I was just fucking floored. I never saw this coming, and she was so young. And it was just crazy because I was talking to a friend the other day, and I had mentioned that I've been to a lot of funerals. This is probably something I'll probably talk about in another episode, but from the age of like 6, I've been to, it was almost like every year, every other year I was going, it was like every year, every 3 years I was going to a funeral. And it was like, started with like my grandfather, but then it would be like kids my age that were dying. And even if I wasn't going to funerals, I just knew kids in my school that were dying, like, and they were in 4th grade or 5th grade. And then later on, a family friend, she died in a car wreck, and I had 2 friends that they died in a car wreck. And me and my 2 buddies were the last ones to see them. And I've just had a lot of people in my life that I've known where I've gone to funerals about kind of being a couple degrees away from people, and then there's people that I knew directly and they died somehow. So with this, it was just crazy because I had never lived with someone um, and then she did this. And my buddy Chris, who was in Lanemeyer, when he moved to Jersey, he created a band called Day at the Fair, and they had this album on Rushmore Records, which was a subsidiary of Drive Thru Records. And he wrote a song called Lost and Lucky, or Lost and the Lucky, I forget the name, Lost and Lucky. And it's a great song. It's about her, and it's just a really fucking powerful song. Like it's so like when I hear it, it just get the chills because he just did such an amazing job. And I had this guitar riff years later, and I remember I was living in Lake Hiawatha in New Jersey, and this is like when after I'd recorded those three songs, I had started playing an Arcade Academy version in Jersey, and I was living in Lake Hiawatha, and we were looking for some new songs. So I wrote that one song, no, Welcome to Home Stretch about my ex. We were living together in Jersey, and it was kind of like I wrote that song because she was like, "You never wrote any songs about me," and I was like, "All right, here's your fucking song." And then I had this guitar riff. And I'm gonna put the link to the song on the landing page and in the show notes. But when it starts off, that guitar riff, it's the same three chords the entire song, but there's this guitar riff, and I was playing it, and I just had something with it, and I was trying to think of what to write about, and I thought about Christina, and I just started kind of writing these lyrics about her, and the whole story is really about someone who, it's like, did you really get a chance to make a well-rounded decision about what you're going to do? Now, I have never been so depressed that I've ever wanted to kill myself. I've never, ever even come close to even fantasizing about it. I will say, though, that I have been very, very depressed where I couldn't, like, I would sleep for 10 hours and I'd wake up and then I'd have to go back to bed because I was so exhausted and I was so angry. And this is after I got divorced because I was really trying to process that. My brain, I think, was just so fucking shattered. But I've never gotten to the point where I ever wanted to kill myself. Now, that said, I have no idea, but but my eyes were open to the fact of understanding why someone would not want to feel that shitty. And I think it's on a new level where it's something that, again, I've never been there. I can't know exactly what they went through. If someone is talking about the death of a family member or their parent, I can easily step in and be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that feels like. And I can talk to you like this normally instead of being like, I don't know what to tell you. I'd be like, yeah, you're part of the dead dad club now, because that's just how you start talking when you've gone through crazy trauma and crazy shit. But with this, I didn't it was like something where it didn't level me when I found out she did this. It didn't like floor me to the fact that if it was a family member, it would devastate me. But I was really fucking sad because we were friends. And so Chris writing that song, I was like, you know what? I think maybe I want to kind of say something about this. And these lyrics started coming out, which I'll kind of break down now. And I think part of the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because I think sometimes sharing these things, there might be someone out there who can get something out of it that can get them out of a funk or just make them connect, that knowing that what they're going through isn't just, it's nothing new. It's just a different coat of paint on something that already exists, and people have gone through it through the entire existence of mankind in just different ways. And obviously that comes out in different ways in different civilizations and time periods. But through this whole time, I mean, people just have it baked to them that they know what they go through, some serious pain. So I wanted to talk about this because I think that maybe it could help someone. So some of these episodes are like happy-go-lucky, and then try to just be, I don't know, not funny, but just try to be just kind of a happy tone. And I think the beginning of these podcast episodes, I was definitely in a shit place, and you can definitely hear the tone where I was like just bummed out. But I'm currently in a very good place. But talking about this, I feel that maybe this will help someone, or maybe it'll help them talk to someone who is going through a shit time. And And I know that like before she died, I heard that she had kind of gotten into this really weird I don't know, she just took a just turn that was just so odd from what I knew of her. And I'm not speaking shit. I just like she just started just doing things that were just so different from what I had remembered, and it just led down this path. And then she did what she did. Um, so when I wrote the song, I mean, the name of the song is called No Rewind because it's like once you do this, there's no going back, right? And the whole song is dedicated directly to her. And the lyric, it starts off, it's like, did you think before you couldn't? I was like, did you think before you couldn't turn around? Did you think? Did you play your favorite song? Fuck, I'm totally fucking up these lyrics. I have to like have these in front of me. I don't have them like written down. Let me listen real quick. Well, it's like, did you did you think before you couldn't turn around? Did you get to wear a smile or wear a frown? Did you get to tell your friends that we sold you out? Did you really um, think we weren't around? And I could be messing this up because I really didn't listen to this, but I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And the whole point is like just questioning. Like it was almost like I'm sitting in the room with her. Like, hey, you know, did you really think like you couldn't turn around? It's basically just like before you made that decision. It's like once you do this, it's done. And it's kind of like throwing it out there. And it's at the point where the whole point of the song is like there's nothing in saying this is going to change anything. But it's almost like I'm speaking directly to her, not in a shameful way, but in a kind of a man, what the fuck didn't we do? And how do we miss this? But also like, are you sure you want to do this? Because like that's the only thing I can really ask, and I don't know how to ask that where it's really going to land with you. But at the same time, that's also if someone's listening to this, it's kind of them on the outskirts being like, hey, I am talking to you because you are here and you might be thinking about this. And here's maybe some questions that maybe one of these might just trigger that one thing you need to go get help or to not do it. And it's just kind of like, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to ask, but I'm just going to just off the cuff, like, this is what's on the top of my head. So it's like, did you get to wear a smile, wear a frown? It's kind of like, did you, were you, I mean, obviously, weren't you happy with this decision, but it's just like, what was what what was your facial expression during this? And obviously, I can imagine that it's like, are you happy that you were about to leave this pain behind, or were you sad because you couldn't do anything about it? And and then it goes into this is too hard to imagine now. You'll never get to hear your favorite song and play it loud again. It's like it's too hard to imagine that like this actually just fucking happened. And once you're gone, like you're never gonna have all these things that were maybe these pleasures to like blasting your favorite song and having one of those because music to me always creates like those really happy moments always. And even in shit times, it's like you play really sad songs because it's like you like to live in the misery. And but playing music just it kind of takes you away from, maybe if it's your happy song, it takes you away from that because you can't be happy and sad at the same time. It's like you're going to be one or the other. So if you hear your favorite song, it's going to at least make you happy. So it's like you can't do that anymore. So it's like, just play your song favorite loud. Did you get to wear a smile, wear a frown? Did you really think we weren't around? It's kind of like, I know I'm kind of throwing these lyrics around, but uh, it's like, did you think we weren't around? It's really like, I know I'm messing these parts up, but there's a part where I say like, did you tell your friends we sold you out? It's kind of like, hey guys, like, where the fuck were you when I needed you? It's like, but you didn't say that. And it's like, but we sold you out because we weren't paying attention. And did you really try to work this out? It's like, did you even try? Like, did you talk to anybody? Because I don't know anyone. I never had anyone that was close to her ever come out and say like, yeah, like she had these conversations. She might have. I have no clue if those happened, but it was just me in a room in like Hiawatha, New Jersey, just like writing lyrics like these are the questions I have. And the chorus is like, it's so hard to tell us goodbye when you give up your life and all your time. You could have gave us a call to know that you're wrong. Um, but there's no replay, no rewind. It's like, that's just pretty straightforward. There's really no metaphors there. It's like, so hard to tell us goodbye when you give up your life, all your time. It's like, you can't tell us goodbye when you're gone, and you didn't really say goodbye, because if you did, then you would have been stopped. So it's like, you kind of just kind of shut the door and was like, hey, I'll be right back. And didn't really express to anyone what you were going to do. And no replay, no replay, no rewind. It's like, hey man, as soon as that decision's done, like there's no fixing this. So it's just like, this decision is completely final. And then the song just keeps going, and there's just like this very melancholy tone through the whole thing. But there's like this break in where it's just like kind of like yelling, almost like, what the fuck? And it's kind of just driving that point in where it's almost like this mix of me yelling this to her, like, what the fuck? But it's also like her in her head just like yelling out loud, or in her head, and it's all where it lived, and it never left there. So it's like, in this moment, and like you can just feel this energy in that space where it's both sides, right? It's like her friends just being like, what the fuck? And screaming it. And then her, just how her head must have felt, where she just wanted to I mean, from what I can guess, is that it was just overbearing. And then it just like slows down again. And so it's like this uh, crescendo. I don't know. Just like I can't put the words together for this, but it's like the song just dips up and down. And then in the end, there's just like music, and then it's like, did you really think it out this time? Did we do enough to save your sunshine? It's like one more time. It's like, hey, like, just asking again, like, did you really try? Which is a shit question to ask somebody when they've already done that. And it's not putting shame on someone. It's just like asking one more time, as if you had the choice to ask that person. Do we do enough to save your sunshine? Because you're such a just sprite, happy, sunshiny person. It's like, then it throws the blame back on us. Like, fuck, we didn't do anything. And then it goes, did you really? What the hell did I say? I forget what I say, but it's like, did you really something? And then, did you really think before you died? It's like just straightforward, like, without the metaphors, just clearly, okay, this is just here's a direct question. Did you really think? Which I'm pretty sure she did, but I think if anyone takes that step, there's always a way to just change your life. Like, whatever, I think it's just in general, when anyone's life, whatever it's going, it's like, that's just the life that you built. Like, if you're surrounded by shit people, just don't surround yourself with those fucking people. Like, it sounds easy on paper or in me saying that, but it's like true. Like, change your fucking circumstance. Again, like, I don't live in Syria. I'm not surrounded by war. They could be, that could be a whole different scenario where they're like, oh really, it's really that easy? I'm like, I only know as much as I know. And but I always think that I always think there's a way out of something like that. Not like Syria, but like out of if you're in a shitty mental place. And then so the end of the song, it's like, what is it? I never did say goodbye. I never did say goodbye. And I never got a chance to make this all right. You never did say goodbye. Now there's no replay to one. So it's like, I never said goodbye or to make this all right. And then you also never said goodbye. Not like, well, what the fuck, why don't you say goodbye to me? It's just kind of like, it's kind of like both sides just being like, putting the blame on yourself and then throwing it on someone just because you don't know what to say and you just emotionally just say that. And then underneath all that, there's lyrics. It's like there's a face in the crowd. I forget the fuck. I forget these lyrics. But so Chris in his song "Lost and Lucky," his song "Lost and Lucky" is about her, but I think he had another song about her. So the lyric that I took, I can't remember if it was from the Lost and Lucky. The Lost and Lucky is the name of the song. And if you get a chance to listen to the song, it's fucking incredible. Like totally need to listen to it. But there was a lyric that Chris had written, so I took that and I put that into my song because we both knew her, we're both friends with her, and it was kind of like there's a Weezer song like "Hear You Me," Carly and Michael, I think is the name of the song, and it's from what my understanding is that it's these two girls that were going to a Weezer show and they were super fans and they got killed in a car wreck, and he wrote the song about them. And then I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, that Jimmy Eat World did a song where it's like "Hear You Me," and it's like he's taking, from my understanding, is like he was taking that Weezer lyric and putting it in his and combining those two songs. Now I don't know if this is 100% true, but that's how I interpreted it, and I thought it'd be fucking awesome if if that's what happened. And I think it's also the same people in this "At the Drive-In" song where they sing about, I think it's the same people. Again, I can be totally fact checked to be wrong, but this is my understanding growing up. So I thought that that's what had happened. So what I did was I just took that idea and I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to bring Chris's song into this, and that's what I did there. So, and it's weird because it's weird playing that song because you know what it's about, and it's never like, oh, here's a happy, fun song, but it's just like a really powerful song. And I always kind of wanted this song to be like used in, I don't know, in some way to target in like a suicide campaign or something like that, where it's so direct and it makes so much sense to talk to people that are thinking this. But that never happened. So, but I figured I would talk about it today. It's not really the happy-go-lucky thing that people. I don't know when people really listen to this podcast. They do it in the morning or they do it like the end of the day, but it's not like the most happy-go-lucky topic. But I don't want to just stick to things that are just strictly. If I'm gonna be real in this podcast, like it's got to be across the board, and so that's why I wanted to talk about this one because it just kind of falls in line with me breaking down lyrics of songs that I've written, and this is a song I wrote, and this is what it was about. And it's weird because usually I'll pretty much all my songs were always about relationships, like girlfriends. Um, yeah, like this was the only one it was ever about like a friend who was a girl, and it wasn't like a fuck you song. There was questions in the song, but it wasn't like shaming or being mad at someone like my other songs, which I've talked about in other episodes where it's kind of like a pure like you're a piece of shit, you ruined my life, which is very angsty and young, even though I'll still talk about like my divorce, and it's not the fact that I don't like that person, it's more the fact of just uh not like a hate for the person, just kind of disgusted where the person became, and that's just more of a ugh, that's that's who you are. Cool. Cool, bro. Yeah, so that is today's episode. And if you, I don't know if you, I don't know if this would help someone who is listening right now and they were having a shit time and they needed to hear this, or if they have a friend who's having a shit time and needs to hear this. Not like, I don't really know how this would directly help anyone, but I think just talking about a situation where it came to fruition where someone was thinking about it and they did it, um, maybe listening to the song would help them. Maybe it would help the person who's listening right now. But hopefully there's some kind of help in this for somebody. So I will leave it on that note. And if you are someone who's having a shit time, fucking call and get help, man, because you can change shit around. Even if it's not in a day, maybe it's 6 months in a year, but at least you'd still be here to figure it out how to get out of it. And people want you around. So, and if you have a friend who needs to help, then hopefully you can express that to them and they get it. So, because people, I don't know, this whole thing is just this big bullshit, doesn't make any sense. It's not supposed to make any sense world, and it's all just kind of our rules that we're all applying or applying to, just abiding by, or most people are. And I just kind of just see it as just like, no, just because it's just what you see around you doesn't mean that you got to play the game, and that you don't fit in. Like you always fit in somewhere. Just if you're not fitting in where you're at, just move. Like not like you could physically move, or just move your mind, man. So, or talk to someone professionally that will help you see that. Okay, I'm going to leave I'm going to leave now, and hopefully you have a nice rest of the week.